It would be best if we just divorced. The child is to be raised solely by you. Hearing Tom's words brought a smile to my face, which hadn't happened in a long time. An unexpected smile escaped my lips as I replied, "No problem. The documents for the divorce are here." When Tom laid eyes on the divorce papers, his horizons expanded. That I had them prepared probably caught him off guard. I could see that our thoughts were identical. I was not going to let the chance to get him to bring up the divorce pass me by. It is his responsibility to feel remorse for it after the divorce. It makes no difference what he says. Under the circumstances, I will not forgive him. If he doesn't go down to 0, then my struggles will have been in vain. Tom got a soft smile from me. I am 28 years old and my name is Emily. In my role as a stay-at-home mom, I try my best. It has been 3 years since my wedding. Tom, my spouse, appears to be fairly successful as the head of an IT-related company. Having said that, I am not well versed in the technicalities because of my lack of familiarity with the IT field. I sought Catherine's opinion on Tom, though, because she is a systems engineer and has extensive knowledge of the IT industry. Tom's quite a notable figure in the industry. He really is something. I see. Despite the fact that it is not about me, I am proud. Tom works long hours and often spends days away from home during busy times. However, that's because he works really hard for us. So I try my hardest to take care of household duties in Tom's honor. I think we both gain when we support one another. But lately, especially with Tom's treatment of me, I've been wondering if we are actually supporting one another. 4 years ago, Tom and I met. I was employed at a retail electronics store at the time. I've always insisted on viewing movies in high definition at home because I adore them so much. I used to look up which companies made the best gadgets and how much I should spend on them. I worked at the retail electronics store because I developed an obsession with electronics. I worked at a store, and Tom was a customer. He asked me, "Where can I find the cheapest SSD?" during one of his visits. I answered, "I'll lead you to the section." That was how we first met. We started having secret meetings while I carried on our conversation with Tom when he was here. Eventually, our friendship turned into something more committed, and we made the decision to tie the knot. Looking back, though, I believe that our viewpoints were out of alignment from the beginning of our marriage. For example, Tom questioned me, "Why did you buy a rubber vacuum cleaner even though I already owned a vacuum?" I said, "Well, it gives me time to focus on other things and cleans even the tightest corners." "You're a housewife full-time, huh? Avoid considering compromising on household chores," Tom remarked loudly. I wanted to make the most use of my time, no matter how long it took. I felt that vacuuming a reasonably clean floor was a waste of time. Using the rubber vacuum and using that time for laundry or house cleaning seemed like a better idea. Ultimately, Tom was unable to comprehend my mode of thought. "Do you consider me to be only a roommate?" I inquired. It could have been Tom's genuine sentiments, but I had a sense he might think that way. This insight started to develop inside of me gradually. It feels like people are using me lately rather than assisting each other. It would appear that our relationship does not live up to our idealized portrayal of a couple who supports each other. Eventually, my childhood buddy Karen called me. I figured it was about time we finally met since we hadn't had a true reunion since we graduated from high school. Karen inquired. Could you show me how to clean the air conditioner during our meeting? The air conditioner at Karen's house, she said, had begun to malfunction. Since it didn't appear to be a serious problem, she planned to clean it first. I drew on my background working at an electronics store and said, "Leave it to me, I'm knowledgeable about appliances." Karen needed her air conditioner cleaned, so I decided to show her how to do it. We became so engrossed in our chat that we wound up collaborating on it. It had already gotten dark when I became aware of it. I really must get home right now. If I have kept you waiting this long, I apologize. Not a problem. I will see you later, Karen responded. I ran to my apartment building in a panic and ran into Tom as I arrived. Why were you gone? With an eerie expression on his face, Tom inquired. I was visiting a friend, I said. You have been diligently completing your chores, haven't you? Without a doubt, I told him. I hurriedly got on the elevator. And Tom, who looked a little tipsy and unstable, followed suit. My first reaction was to extend a helping hand to him. You're definitely inebriated right now, I remarked. It all started with dinner with some coworkers, and then it went into drinking, Tom said. Still, I froze in the middle of my statement as soon as I detected an irregularity. It's not a big deal. What about me? Tom inquired. Nothing. It doesn't matter, I responded with a smile and a head shake. Tom appeared to pick up on the fact that I was acting strangely. Say what you mean. And don't mince words. Well, I noticed a scent of perfume on you, I finally mustered up the nerve to say. While I was assisting Tom earlier, I detected a perfume aroma on him, a scent I knew to be that of a woman's perfume worn by someone dear to me. It was on my mind, but I wasn't sure whether to bring it up. Before he spoke, Tom began patting my head and grinned. Are you concerned that I may be unfaithful to you? He inquired, not wanting to acknowledge my jealousy. I answered, it's not like that. Apparently, Tom could see through my facade. Your sister was with me, he continued, his voice muted with a hint of laughter. How could that be? I inquired. No. We were merely collaborating, Tom reassured me. I seized the opportunity to discuss a matter pertaining to you with her. I felt my heart race at the unexpectedness of his comments. Tom, in contrast to me, kept his cool and carried on. We skipped the wedding ceremony since we've been so preoccupied. What exactly was it that you wanted me to perform for you? You have my gratitude. He casually mentioned taking a trip, as if the thought had just crossed his mind. I said, yeah, I'd love to go on a trip. After everything was agreed upon, Tom started recording it on his phone. I mean, he was thinking about me. But was it truly all work? Her smell would not have lingered on him for so long if it were merely work. From the start, my sister had heard about Tom and indicated that he was the talk of the industry. Perhaps, though, she was just closely observing him. The two of them felt excessively familiar. Even when Tom came over for our conversations with Mary, he had the option to ask me personally if he wanted to do something for me. Horrible ideas swelled within me. Perhaps, after all, it was an affair. What would happen if Tom cheated on me with my sister? That was the only notion that entered my head. Having just completed my high school education, I was concerned about how I would support myself as a stay-at-home wife in the event of our divorce. A vague fear started to seep in. I should be ready for the worst that can happen. This acted as a trigger for me to become more reserved. After about 6 months, I woke up one morning and hurried to the restroom. Tom's surprised eyes grew wide at my abrupt action. What's not right? Are you freezing? Or have you read anything strange? I was unable to get out of the bedroom easily. So that was all I could say. I mean, I'm not exactly weak. But becoming ill once a year seemed like typical to me. Perhaps I had become quite tired. I attempted to go back to bed after deciding to keep quiet today. Tom asked, "Where do you think you're going?" when he raised his voice from the living room. I apologize. I'll be resting today as I'm not feeling well. How is my food going? It's your responsibility. Is it not? Tom asked me questions like an interrogator. Obviously displeased. Now I was too frail to fight. I said, leaning against the wall. Sorry. Eat outside. I said that. Turned my back on Tom. And went back to bed. I reasoned that I ought to visit the hospital later. I shut my eyes silently. Keeping that in mind, I was able to get up after a few hours. Tom was nowhere to be seen. And it was already almost 1 p.m. I traveled to the hospital via cab. I was still feeling under the weather. So I planned to take another nap when I got home. This was something I was thinking about when I went to the hospital to get checked out. My pregnancy was confirmed by the test results. I felt lighter as soon as I received the news. I happily made my way home. Unsure of Tom's reaction, I confronted him in the living room and told him about the pregnancy when he eventually came back. Tom, though, only responded, "Oh. So that's why you weren't feeling well." Was he not pleased with it? I was shocked beyond belief. But something changed after that day. Tom grew more icy than usual. He came home late. Disregarded me when I spoke to him. And if our eyes locked, he had nothing but criticism for me. I have no doubt that he is having an affair. This is not about the baby. It was clear to me. If that's the case, I should probably start making plans for when we might go through a divorce. No time wasted. I got to work. I was 7 months along in my pregnancy when the time seemed to fly by. It was getting difficult to do anything as simple as put on stockings these days due to my significantly larger tummy. Seated leisurely on the living room couch, I delicately rubbed my noticeably larger belly. I was approached by Tom. "Hey. How about we have a chat? I have some business to take care of." "Explain yourself? Please. Do it quickly because I am very busy," I said without enthusiasm. Tom had entirely lost my affection. Even Tom had grown emotionally aloof, saying nothing to show that he cared about me anymore. For some time now, this has been on my mind. We simply aren't a good fit. What the hey? Are we not? I inquired. Our personalities aren't compatible. It would be best if we separated. Raise the baby on your own. Tom told it like it is. I was more captivated by the substance of his remarks than by the delivery. Just like you, I desired a divorce. It was unusual for me to react with true joy to anything Tom said. so I couldn't help but crack a smile. No problem. This is the divorce decree. From my pocket, I withdrew the divorce paperwork and presented it to Tom. Someone else had already entered my name. As soon as Tom laid eyes on the document, his horizons expanded. The fact that I had the divorce paperwork prepared astonished him. But it just served to confirm my feelings. To my great advantage, Tom broached the subject of the divorce. I was determined not to let this chance pass me by. After we got a divorce, I might always feel bad about it. No amount of apologizing would ever make me forgive him after this. Otherwise, all my hard work would have been for naught unless he crashed and burned. Smiling slightly, I smiled at Tom. Out of nowhere, his face became somber. Why are you preparing the paperwork for a divorce? Very well. Should I tell him the truth? I pondered. Tom became increasingly angry as I hesitated. Have you been unfaithful to me? What the hey? Having an affair? I was about to respond that he was the one who was unfaithful. But Tom interrupted me. He raised his voice. Is getting a divorce from me and remarrying your cheating partner in your future plans? No. It is incorrect. This is sufficient. I was thinking about working with you to find a peaceful resolution. But now I'm going to take your property. How bold could he possibly be? It was disheartening to think that I was a man of this character. I stated with purpose. I'm not cheating. Tom's voice grew increasingly strident. What gives? I will insist that individual disclose his information. That is not true, I responded. How do I have faith in your word? He acted like a toddler by snorting and averting his gaze. I attempted a level-headed argument with Tom despite my shock. What if we each went through our own personal investigation? Therefore, you will be able to tell that I am innocent. Please explain what you mean by both thought. I take it you're starting to distrust me. Huh? You have my distrust as well. I shook my head in an angry manner and went on. You mentioned the divorce because you're unfaithful. That's my personal opinion. That's not true, Tom protested, his brow betraying his sincere denial. Wow. What openness. I kept saying. Let's look into each other, as if I hadn't noticed. That will be the basis for our decision regarding who should relinquish the property. Hold on. Is something wrong? Thou didst know that Tom cheated. I had gotten proof of his adultery from a specialist during the previous many months. I spoke with such assurance because of that. We can resolve this. You should just hand over all of your assets to me because you brought up the divorce. I don't see why. Because it was initially raised by you. I asked. You have to have money set aside for the divorce. Tom averted his eyes from me. I gave it one more push. Thinking of what I could do, I'll back off without question if you agree to give me some of your assets. That makes things simpler. Let's use $15,000 as an example. I won't ask for anything more. So we can end things amicably. Tom gave me a quiet nod of agreement when I presented my proposition. Going back and forth with me would only make things worse for him. Tom seems to have realized his responsibilities following our official divorce. Tom fulfilled his pledge to contribute some of his assets, which I utilized to pay for my relocation. It was hard for me to move by myself, so I enlisted Karen's assistance. Though having a baby was a bit of a setback. Living alone after such a long period was more comfortable than I had anticipated. From this point on, though, things were only going to get better. I rubbed my belly softly and said to myself, my elder sister paid me a visit shortly after the divorce became official. Why is she here, was my first thinking. When I hired a detective, I got proof that Tom had cheated on me with my own sister. From our correspondence prior to the divorce, Tom ought to have known that I possessed all the proof. My sister must have known too. I reasoned. I couldn't figure out why this had occurred. My sister, lost in thought, started talking. I understand you and Tom split up. What connection does that make to me? I shut my mouth when I started to tell her it was none of her business. She was not outside this circumstance. Rather, she was central to it. She wasn't totally to blame, but she did have some responsibility. When I realized this, I got upset. I had always considered taking revenge on Tom. But now that I think about it, should I also get even with my sister? As I thought about this, my sister, irritated, spoke up. Why are you ignoring me? I'm not ignoring you, I answered. It's just that it's your attitude that drove him away. Smirking, my sister said, I see why this is happening. You've come here to make fun of me. When I saw what she was going for, I jumped to my defense. That's not the case. That kind of man wasn't what I wanted. Anyway, I find him to be a somber loser. Enjoy my leftovers, please. If you're satisfied. My sister scowled at what I said. It seems to have touched a nerve, I thought to myself. In an attempt to bring the discourse back to the primary subject, a neighbor interrupted. My sister said, actually, I came here today to announce my marriage. Which person will I marry? I pretended not to know. My sister smiled triumphantly and said, it's Tom. Oh. Is that so? So what? I remarked coldly. My sister spoke up at that very second, asking, what's wrong with that tone? You ought to exhibit remorse. I didn't feel remorse, as I indicated before. Oh. I see. So he was your spouse, right? She emphasized that you must be distressed. It's only an assumption on your part. It was obvious to me that Tom was having an affair with you. But I've known it for a long time. It's true that I didn't confirm it until recently when I was conducting study. But that's about it. You two have not left me with any feelings of regret or resentment. The only thing I intend to do is return the favor. I asked my sister, are you happy with my hand-me-downs, after taking a big breath in response to that thinking? My sister, humiliated and furious, stormed out. Unexpectedly, her expression turned funny. You ought to depart if that is your sole purpose for being here. The time is not now. What the hey? You're a jobless loser. What are you trying to say? In response, she fired a salvo. As the saying goes, don't think you can live off money forever. My sister pretended to have discovered a way to retaliate with a sly grin. But that was completely false. It wouldn't be entertaining to disclose that I had been working for months, beginning immediately after discovering I was pregnant. In keeping with my act of being uneducated, I said, you might want to worry more about yourself. Her question was misunderstood. My marriage to Tom is well known. No one will take kindly notice if he remarries you. People will talk about you behind your back even if they don't say anything directly to you. Though Tom's business is thriving at the moment. What happens if word gets out? I asked with an air of menace. Could you describe it? You might want to rethink that sweet thought if you're hoping to live off Tom's earnings forever. My sister sent back a knowing glance and bolted when I said that. I thought for sure she wouldn't get married again after this. They made the same terrible decisions that led to Tom and my divorce. But I was surprised to see that they remarried around 1 month later. I was speechless from shock. But I now had an excuse to cut relations with Tom and my sister. It was all worth it in the end. Wasn't it? As I rubbed my belly, I said something to myself. I was interrupted in the middle of my workday a few days later. I recognized the voice right away and replied. Where are you at this very moment? Emily? Inform me. Tom sounded terrified. Hey. Tom. What's wrong with you now? I inquired. Just give me your location. Please. It was hard to carry on a reasonable discussion with Tom due to his anxious tone. My expression turned to be one of bewilderment as I told him the truth. It's strange. But I'm at home. You're back at your house? I'm on my way over right now. Excuse me. But what brings you here? I inquired. Perplexed. There was a feeling of urgency in Tom's response. Because I am occupied with pressing matters. Critical matter? Doesn't that concern you alone? Coming over would be a pain for me. You know. It wasn't a bad look to have my ex-husband come. But since Tom had previously remarried my sister, our arrangement would cast doubt on our relationship. Tom expressed regret and said, You're right. Sorry, after I told him this. I was simply in a panic. So? What's going on? I inquired, Tom said. I heard you started working, but I wasn't sure how he found out. It didn't come from my sibling. While I was reflecting, Tom hurriedly asked me more questions. What is your salary? Are you financially secure? I chose to disclose my current circumstance because I thought it would be an excellent chance for retribution. I work for a house cleaning firm right now. I hold a position of co-management. Actually, I just gave air conditioner a cleaning. After learning of Tom's infidelity, I had contemplated using this as a chance to further my business. After talking with Karen about it, she suggested that we incorporate right away because the industry is seeing a rise in demand. I asked Karen to come along since I didn't think I could handle it alone. She immediately accepted. And we now co-manage the business. The company is doing well. And we make roughly $200,000 a year after paying our executive salaries. That's the tale. But that's none of Tom's concern. Is it? Tom answered in an oddly hesitant. Well. Yes. But hold on. I hurriedly turned on my desk computer, feeling that something was off. And I located a specific article online. I responded, glancing at the paper. I see your company is in trouble. What makes you think that? I went on. It's in the online news. It indicates that your business is in danger of going bankrupt. According to the story, Tom's business had a bad image. Clients were starting to leave. And bank loans were no longer an option. The business seemed to be in danger of going bankrupt. I informed Tom of this. And he started to yell. Cease. That is untrue. What is false? It's written there. Exactly. Tom remarked. I'm telling you. The real story is different. I heard about you from my sister the night she was here. What? Do people assume that in order to go on to my wife, I dumped my sister-in-law? Do people really believe that? Emily had said that we should paint her as the villain to set things right if people truly thought that. Tom took this as an opportunity to start telling his friends and acquaintances untrue stories about me. Like that I was cheating on my sister's fiancé or that I had stolen her engagement ring. These were all, of course, blatant lies. He must have believed that disparaging me would draw attention away from their transgressions. But things didn't work out the way he had planned. People started to wonder why anyone would get married to someone of that kind. Their lives were eventually made public, which is how their credibility was damaged. This was something he caused. This is not what I intended to happen. Hey. If you're earning that much, could you lend me some? Questioned the man. Huh. Of course not, she firmly told him. Then Tom started crying in an attempt to win them over. But if the company goes bankrupt, our employees will be left with nothing. I am unconcerned about that. You are solely responsible. Just accuse yourself of cheating if you must. She then hung up the phone. Before I could exact my vengeance, he committed suicide. After mentally noting his number, I proceeded to block his calls. Last but not least, Tom's business failed financially. Some of his employees went so far as to sue him for damages after he received criticism from them. He found an immediate employment at a cleaning service and is now using the money to pay for his legal bills. What started off as my husband turned into my brother-in-law and, later, my business rival. The way he keeps showing up in my life is really bothersome. Just wanted to mention that I had a healthy baby daughter. At the same time as I'm taking care of her, I'm also doing administrative work for my employer. If you would like, you can take maternity leave, Karen informed me. I said, I'll think about it, but I'm not planning on taking a vacation just yet since I'm enjoying my work so much. I find strength in my newborn daughter. My little girl in my arms is a constant reminder of how important it is for individuals to lend a hand to those in need. That is the reason I intend to persevere unwaveringly. After watching the story above, do you have any thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. If you enjoyed our video, please like, subscribe, and share our channel. That's all about today's stories. See you next time.